Here are the top things I've learned from the top agents in Australia. Point number one is they treat their sales role like a business. They look at it from a helicopter view. They don't view the money coming in as their commission. They look at the money coming in as the business's money for operation. Never ever stop prospecting. Top agents, they say, oh, I never cold call. And that may be true, but they never stop prospecting. And many of them never cold call again, but they have other people cold calling for them. Again, another really important thing that the top agents in Australia do, and any agent needs to do, is to... Agents, welcome to the Get Keen podcast, your number one destination for learning how to get the most out of your real estate career. I'm Dan Lee, founder of Plum Property, one of Queensland's largest independent real estate offices, and Plum Partners, where we've helped dozens of agents create, run and grow their very own agencies. On Get Keen, I chat to high-performing agents, principals, and agency owners, so you have the tools, strategies, and insights to grow your business and live the best life for yourself and your family. Now let's get keen. Welcome back to Get Keen, folks. Solo episode. Today, I want to talk about the top agents in Australia and how they operate. I have recently spoken with over 10 of Australia's top agents in this current market. I've had many of them on the podcast, the likes of Matt Lancashire, Alex Jordan, Tony O'Doherty, Jason Song, Pat Ivey, and up-and-coming agents like Lewis Jones. A collection of the best of the best. A top agent is someone who either does 100 deals per year or they write over $3 million in gross commission or a combination of both. These agents are the best of the best, right? They're absolute masters. Some of them are good friends of mine. And others I've connected with over my 20 years of real estate experience and through being a CEO and founder of one of Queensland's largest independent agencies, Plum Property, I've learned a lot from working with these types of people. And I can tell you that they're built different. The ways they interact with people, the way they communicate, but most importantly is the way they think and take action. And because I've been surrounded with these types of people, I've learned exactly what allows them to operate on a completely different level from most agents. So, here are the top 10 things I've learned from the top 10 agents in Australia. Point number one about the top agents in Australia, and probably the most important, is that they're extremely self-disciplined and consistent. I mean, not just what they say, but I've worked with some as well. The top agents in Australia, they don't take time off when they're working, all right? They don't have a sick day if they're feeling just a little bit off. They don't ever have a day where they don't feel like working, so they don't show up for themselves. The top agents in Australia, they show up every day, no matter what they're going through. And that's the thing that we have to understand here, is that just because they're top agents, it doesn't mean that they're not going through a lot of shit. Everyone has problems. I have problems. You have problems. Other successful people have problems. Everyone has problems. I'm telling you, there is not a person out there that you talk to that thinks that they have no problems. Everyone thinks they have really big problems, and some of them do. But the difference with top agents and average agents, or just average people, is that average people let everyday problems get in the way of them showing up and being disciplined and consistent at their role of being a real estate agent all too often. And it could be as much as just one day a week they show up at 11 a.m. instead of 9 a.m. And then another day at the week, they go home at 2:30 in the afternoon because they're just feeling a bit off and they just want to go home and watch a movie or something. That kind of attitude in the long run is not going to serve those agents. And more than likely, those types of people never make it to that top 1%. And it's because the compounding effect of taking that time off and being low on energy and not fighting through difficult days, it multiplies and it multiplies over years of time. And the competition that they are faced with in the marketplace of those other top agents who don't stay home on a difficult day because they've got a problem, or they don't go home early because they're not quite feeling it today. Those agents always end up winning more. Okay? So the one thing that I believe, I don't think I'm an extremely talented, any more talented than anyone else as an agent. But one thing that I think I did really well is I was consistent, and I never let a bad day get in the way of me showing up, or a problem outside of work get in the way of me showing up and doing what I needed to do. And I think that's the same for every top agent out there. So if there's anything that you need to do to be the top 1%, it is just be consistent. And I know it's a word that's thrown around so much. You just hear it on so many podcasts. You've got to be consistent. And it's the work in real estate, it's not actually that hard. What we have to do, call people, show people through properties, ask questions, prospect. The work isn't actually that hard. What is hard is doing it all of the time, consistently. That is actually what's really hard, and that's where most people fail. So if you want to be the best, you have to show up and you have to outwork everyone, and you have to be consistent. That's the first thing I see from the top agents. The second thing is they don't waste time. So when they're at the office, top agents, and most top agents don't even work more than other average agents. They just work smarter and better. A lot of top agents are not at the office more than 10 hours. Some of them only work 8 hours. But when they're at the office, it's game on the entire time. They don't take 1.5 hour lunch breaks. A lot of them plan their lunch in the day, so they bring lunch in, or they know exactly what's going to happen, or they have someone else make it for them, because taking an hour off to go over to the shops and get something is a waste of time. They're very, very structured in what they do in a day. The best agents, they don't allow things to come and throw them off track on their non-negotiable tasks. So when I say not wasting time, I mean it's very easy to just get busy doing things. But top agents have specific tasks that they have to do that are non-negotiable. Whether that's 2 hours of calling back past clients, or 2 hours on the phone calling all of their hot buyers in the marketplace to get them through a recent listing. Whatever it is that they do, they have non-negotiable tasks, and if something else comes in that needs to be done, it doesn't get in the way of their non-negotiable tasks. So they don't waste any time. They don't walk around the office having a lot of small talk with other people in the office, doing favors for other people in the office, walking into other agents' offices and just talking about the weekend for half an hour. They value their time so much. They understand that time is so limited and it goes quickly. And most successful agents, they have structured lives. So and they have many pillars in their lives that they want to fulfill. So they've got their health, they've got their family, they've got their relationships. I would say most successful agents, they have very strong foundations in family and health. And in order for those foundations to be very strong as well, they need to spend enough time in those areas. So they need to spend enough time taking care of themselves, having their break, going to the gym, making sure they're eating well. That stuff doesn't come without a lot of effort and time. They need to get home and spend time with their wives, spend time with their children, take their children to important events and things like that. So they need to because they're needing to fill these other pillars in their life to be overall balanced. When they're at work, they know their time is limited and they just don't waste any of it. So and it's a common thing I've seen with agents that don't perform really well. In my own office and in offices that I used to work is the agents that don't perform well. You'll quite often see them sitting in someone else's office, having chats, wasting time, walking around the office, just basically finding ways to distract themselves. And they're not, if you actually saw what they did in a day in their 8 hours, it's probably about 3 hours of work. Whereas a structured top 1% agent in their 8 hours, you have a look at what they do, and they're doing 7.5 out of 8 hours work. Zig Ziglar, one of the best salesmen that ever lived. He was the number one car salesman in America, very famous. He's a bit old school, but his values and his sales advice today, even in the modern ages, is still very relevant. And he said, show me a salesperson that works 40 hours a week and I'll show you a rich person. So what he's saying in that line is that most people in sales show up to work for 8 hours, 5 days a week, but they're not working for 8 hours. They find ways to distract themselves. They spend time on the wrong things, and they're not actually working 8 solid hours. So that's really, really important. It's one thing I see from top agents is they just don't waste their time. The third thing I see from Australia's best agents is they treat their sales role like a business. So it's not just a job to them. This is a business, and they look at it from a helicopter view, and they don't view the money coming in as their commission. They look at the money coming in as the business's money for operation, and so when the money comes in, they have budgets for advertising. The best agents, I think, will pay themselves a specific salary based on what they hope to earn that year. They don't just take out all the commission and then decide bits and pieces what they're going to spend the money on. All the money comes into a central place. They pay themselves a generous salary based on what they think they can achieve. And if they achieve more, they increase their salary. And they treat it like a business. So they have budgets. They know what their sales associates are going to cost. They know what they're going to spend on marketing. They know what they're going to spend on training and team events and merchandise and settlement gifts, and it's all done in percentages. So an agent selling $1 million in GCI should have a budget of what they're going to spend on advertising. It could be 1%, 2%, 3%. I think the best agents in Australia spend 5% of their money on advertising. So they make $1 million in GCI and $50,000 goes out on billboards and letters and Facebook campaigns and bus stops and cold calling companies that can help them with calls. Whatever. There's a million ways to advertise. But they don't just take all the money, stick it in their bank and decide later to do bits and pieces of things. Everything's budgeted like a business. And speaking of treating your sales role like a business is, if you owned a cafe or something like that and you worked in your own cafe as a boss, and let's say your job was serving customers, even though you owned the business, your role in the business was serving customers and making people feel welcome in your restaurant. You can't just not go to work one day because you don't feel like it, because those customers need help. There's going to be customers walking into the business regardless of whether or not you want to show up. So are you just not going to show up to your cafe because you don't feel like it one day when there's going to be customers not walking in? No, of course you're going to. Well, agents should feel the same way. There's an abundance of customers that need your help today and every day. No matter how you feel, There are sellers out there that need to talk to you about selling their property. There's buyers out there that need to talk to you about the properties on the market. And there's business to be signed and sold today. And if you're not showing up, then someone else, those customers are going to walk to the next agent. So, they view the time that they have off as it affects their business massively. And I think that great agents feel very, very guilty if they have to have any time off outside of their holidays and outside of their other pillars. So if they're not going to the gym and working out or doing something that fulfills them in one of those other pillars, whether it be family, whether it be health, or one of their other very important pillars, if they're not showing up just because they don't feel like it or they want to have a bit of a break, they feel very guilty about that. And that's a really good sign of a fantastic agent. And most people just cannot take the time off because if they said, I'm going to sit at home and watch a movie today and go in late, they would just be sitting there feeling so guilty. They couldn't enjoy having that time off. So they just don't bother. It's worse to have the time off than go to work because they feel so guilty about it. And that is a personality trait of a very successful person. Hey guys, just quickly, if you're loving this content and you're a real estate agent that's already thinking what it might be like to have your own real estate business and brand, then check out the show notes. There'll be a link to our Plum Partners website where you can leave an inquiry and me or one of my team members will reach out. We help agents to create, run, and grow their own real estate business and brand so they can earn more and set up a better future for themselves. So get keen, get in touch. Now let's get back to the episode. The next thing I notice about very, very successful agents is they invest in building a team very quickly, as quick as possible. It's a mistake I made early in my career because I was young and I don't think I had the best advice or mentorship at the earlier part of my career. And I waited for too long to build a team because I was scared of the wage of putting someone else onto the team. Just, thinking of that number of $70,000, $80,000, whatever it costs to put on a team member. It's a scary thought, that you have to outlay this big amount of money for this person and you instantly, when you're not used to this, revert back to, oh, well, I'd rather keep that money and just do it all myself. And not understanding that what your time as a successful agent is actually worth. You see, the lead agent and the skilled agent at the top of the team, their time is worth more than anyone else. Their time it's like a solicitor. If you ever go to a solicitor and they show you their fees, it says, okay, when you're dealing with me, my fee is $950 an hour. But I have associates and my associate is $350 an hour and my secretary is $150 an hour. So it's not clear like that in real estate. We don't have dollar values for each of the people within a team, but realistically, it's the same thing. The lead agent's time is worth more than anyone else in the team. So if you're the only person in your team and you're putting someone on if you work out how much GCI that you make and then break that down to an hourly rate for your year, you will find out what your rate is. Now, if you times that rate by 38, so 38 hours in a week or 40, and then times that by 52, you will find out what doubling your output should add to your business. Okay, so if you've done a GCI of 400,000 on your own, then putting another person on who can help you do double should actually help you to bring in another $400,000. So if you're only paying $70,000 or $80,000 for this person, you should realistically be making 5 times the value of that time because they're helping you to double the amount of your productivity. And the thing is, the activities that you're doing as a solo agent, a lot of them are worth $2,000 an hour. And those types of activities are what we call dollar productive activities. Those activities are prospecting, calling past clients, talking with hot buyers in the marketplace, doing qualified inspections of properties, open homes, vendor management. There's a number of different tasks that all relate to building relationships and getting more business. Everything outside of that is worth about $30 to $50 an hour. And when we're on our own, we do a portion of both of those things. So we're doing $2,000 an hour jobs, and then we're doing $25 an hour jobs, and we might be doing half and half of those. Well, when you get some help and you put someone on, you can double the amount of $2,000 an hour tasks that you do. So that increases the value of your time and you're leveraging your skills. So the best agents know this. They know that the quicker they can get someone on their team to take away the tasks that are not worth the value of their time, and they double down on the dollar productive tasks, the more successful they get. And then when they get so busy again that both of those roles are completely full and they're at capacity, they go again and they get a third and then a fourth. It does get harder to manage, and obviously there's a capacity point for the size of the team, but investing in building a team is, again, I would say top 3 most important things to be a number 1 agent in Australia. If you look at any number 1 agent in Australia, you will see it's not just them. Although it's them on the outside with the face on all the listings, if you actually go into their office and see how they operate, it's usually a minimum of 3 people on the team, but normally top agents will be 4, 5, 6 people. They'll have an admin or marketing or EA type role. They'll have a buyer's agent. They'll have a few prospecting agents or associates, and they'll have the lead agent. That's usually how the top agents go. So invest in building a team as early as possible. The hardest thing is getting to capacity as a single agent. Okay, and breaking through and getting your first listings and actually getting to a point where as a single agent you are so busy with listings. That's the hardest part about real estate, getting to that point. So learning how to do that quickly is really, really important. The next really important thing that I notice about the best agents is they're very strategic about growth. So they take time to talk with mentors, and they take time to talk with their team about what is the vision. What are they looking to achieve in the next year? Is it a certain percentage of sales? Is it an increase in their average sale price? Is it an increase in the fee that they're charging? It could be a combination of all of these things. Is it an increase in the amount of leads that they're getting into the business? They're not just coming in and doing their best and hoping that things happen and they just get the best out of it. There's periods of time when we act like that, but great agents and those top 1%, they're very strategic about their goals and where and how they want to improve their business. And so they look at these goals and they'll have meetings with their team or even with themselves first, and they'll say, okay, well, I made this amount of money this year and I did this many deals. How could I make more money? I could do more deals. Well, what do I need to do more deals? I need to get more leads. How do I get more leads? Where are my leads coming from now? Well, I got this many leads from my past database this year, and I lost a certain percentage of leads. They might look at these kind of statistics. They might look at the amount of leads that came through marketing efforts. They might look at the amount of leads that came through the calls that their associates made. And then they'll decide which ones they think that they could get more at, and they'll double down on these activities. So there's no one right way to approach any real estate business, because you have to understand your own market and what you're currently doing and where the potential for growth is. But what I will say is that every top agent spends time to strategically look at their business from a helicopter view, probably once a quarter, the really good ones, but at least once every half year, and at very least once a year, a big full day at helicopter view, looking at where all leads came from, how much money they spent on their business, where they want to go, what are the activities that they need to do to get there. There's no use in just having a goal and saying, oh, that's what we want to achieve this year, meeting over. Cheers, everyone. There's got to be a goal, and there's got to be a strategy on how to get there. What activities need to be done in order for us to achieve this outcome? And then they take action. So they're accountable. They keep their teams accountable. They have weekly meetings about what needs to be done. And in the following meetings, they evaluate what has been done, why things that haven't been done, why they weren't done, where they can do better. So constant evaluation of their activity and their team's performance over time, with big strategic planning days in between. Okay, it's super important. And when I talk with great agents, the best ones all do things like this. Again, another really important thing that the top agents in Australia do, and any agent needs to do, is to never, ever, ever stop prospecting. Okay, prospecting changes over time, but they never stop. So let me give you an example. In the beginning, when you don't have a team and you're just trying to find your first pieces of business, you don't have much to do other than call people who don't really want to hear from you, knock on doors with people that don't really want to talk to you. And it's really difficult because you don't have any activity going on. You have to create the activity because nothing's coming to you. So most of your prospecting is cold calling, door knocking, just reaching out to your network, your friends, your family, just seeing where the opportunity is, who you can serve and give information to. And you're just building a pipeline of people that know who you are, what you do, where to find you, and try and do something and build a relationship with them. Okay. Eventually you land your first listings and things start happening. And you hear I hear a lot of times top agents, they say, oh, I never cold call. And that may be true, but they never stop prospecting. They may not cold call because they're 10 years down the track and they have so much activity going on. There's so much other types of prospecting that these agents can do that will bring business in, that they don't need to cold call so much. And many of them never cold call again, but they have other people cold calling for them. A lot of top agents, doesn't matter what's going on, they'll have cold call going, whether it's associates or whether they're paying a company to do it for them. It's just they're not doing it anymore because their prospecting's changed. So it's not that they don't do those don't do prospecting activities. They're just different. Once you've sold 500 properties in your lifetime, that might take a great agent 10 years to achieve. But when you've sold 500 properties, you could literally just spend your time keeping in touch with those 500 buyers that bought those homes and the 500 sellers that sold those homes through you. That's 1,000 relationships right there of people that have transacted with you that probably still live in the area, and a lot of them probably still own something or know other people that they could refer to you. If you literally just did that, you would have a great business. So top agents never stop prospecting. They spend time prospecting in the way that brings in the best results for them. So it gets easier over time because they have so many warm clients that they can reach out to and not cold ones. Okay, but they never stop. And they spend a specific amount of time each week doing those activities. So they have, and most of them are very good at blocking out specific times. I remember at Arik when we were listening to one of the most successful agents ever in America. This guy's a billionaire. He's an old dude. Would be in his 80s, possibly 90s now. His name was Bob. Forget his last name right now. Having a mind blank. But Bob, for 50 years, and to this day, still does this in his 80s, is every day before 10 o'clock, without negotiation, every day before 10 o'clock, he contacts 10 important people. Every day. And he's done it for 50 years. And this guy's worth over $1 billion. And he says that's the number one activity that has never let him down. He's consistent every day. He knows that contacting those 10 people every day before 10 o'clock are going to lead to more business down the track. He just looks after his most important people. And he's literally just got a list of probably 1,000 people that are super important to his life, that have done business with him, that know, like, and trust him, who would do business with him again as long as he stays in touch. And he calls 10 a day before 10 o'clock. How easy does that sound? And that specific activity for 50 years has pretty much made this guy a billionaire. So being super consistent with prospecting and never stopping is super important for the number one agents in Australia. Before I wrap up, the final thing that I think the greatest agents in Australia are is they are all relatively good leaders. And if they're not the best leaders, they're trying to be better all the time. Being a great leader and being a great salesperson are two very different things. But what I see from the best agents is they're very generous. They look after their team. They appreciate their team so much, and they make their team feel appreciated. They celebrate wins and they pay stuff forward. So what I mean by that, for example, a lot of associates might be on a bonus structure of some sort. And sometimes there might be a sale that comes in where the lead agent spoke to this person a year ago, and then the associate reestablishes the contact between the great agent with the lead agent. Well, a bad leader would say to the associate, "Oh, well, mate, listen, I spoke to that guy about a year ago, so I'm not going to give you a bonus on that one." Whereas a great agent would look at it in a different way and say, "Well, mate, you did a great job there because you reestablished my contact here with someone that wanted to do business, and I may have missed that if you didn't do that. And so I'll still pay the bonus." So that is an example of how a great leader would see a situation like that. So very, very generous, very giving, paying things forward, appreciating the team, and knowing that they can't do what they do without that fantastic team sitting there next to them all day, every day, helping them to become the best agent they can be. So these are just some of the things I've learned in my 20 years of selling real estate alongside the most successful agents in Australia. And I just wanted to share them with you because they've been really helpful to me when I was building my career in sales. And they're still helpful to me now because I still want to learn and grow and learn from the best. And as I now, in my new role, help other agents and agency owners achieve their goals, I want to keep learning from these people. So hopefully you found them helpful as well. Thank you for joining me again on the Get Keen podcast. Give us a like or a share. If you're an absolute legend, leave me a 5-star review. It really helps and makes it worthwhile for me to keep making this helpful content for you. Thanks again. I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for tuning into the Get Keen podcast. If today's episode inspired you, please show your support with a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And make sure you subscribe on your favorite platform too. Don't stop there. Join our community of forward thinkers by connecting with me on social media at Dan_Lee_Plum. I'm looking forward to exploring more strategies and insights with you on your journey to the top. Until next time, keep getting keen.